Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Fruits Basket 2019, Episode 1. So yeah, this is the first, as you can tell by the title, reaction for the Spring 2019 anime preview. So for those of you who might not know what this is during the for the Spring 2019 anime season, I'm going to be checking out I think 4 total series. And what I'm going to do for this preview is that I'm going to check out the first episode of each series. And after watching, I'm going to determine whether or not I think the series would be worth continuing, at least for the time being. Because anything could happen. I could end up dropping them further down the line. But for the time being, whether or not they're worth continuing, specifically reacting to. And if I do, at that point I will have to figure out where to put them in terms of reactions, if I'm going to do it like Star Versus, where I just react to them whenever I can get to them, or if I'm going to do it more like an actual scheduled thing. But that we can worry about later. So yeah. Our first one here is is Fruits Basket 2019. So this is a remake of a previous anime series based off a manga. I think it was about 2001, there was an anime release called Fruits Basket, and at the time the manga was still ongoing. So they kind of went this anime original route, and it never really concluded much of anything. Either way, the anime was still very well received, and got people very interested in the manga who hadn't already read it. So fast forward now, 18 years later, we finally got a Brotherhood treatment. Just like Full Metal Alchemist getting Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, a more manga-accurate and complete representation of the series, we're now doing the same with Fruits Basket. The entire series is going to be adapted. Apparently, this is being referred to as a first season, so they do have plans to make more. Now, I'll be honest. I've seen the original series, and I've read a good portion of the manga. Not the entire manga, but a good portion of it. So I'm not completely blind on this. However, when I read the manga and saw the series, that was like about 10 to 12 years ago. About 2007 to 2009, somewhere in that range. I was in high school at the time. Well, either late middle school or early high school, right around that time period. And I got into it because basically the school library had a manga section, which was awesome, by the way. It had a manga section, and I checked it out, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like my favorite anything. And yes, by the way, back then I did actually read manga. That was before I really started to dislike it as a medium. And really at that point I read it just for something to do, really. And plus it got me into more anime specifically, so. But yeah, so I'm not completely blind on it. Like, I know the concept of the series. I know the characters to a degree. I know about the entire Zodiac theming. And I know there's a few things that the original anime did that were definitely a lot different, such as with, I believe, the main bad guy. Because there was this thing with the main bad guy's gender that I don't remember exactly what it was like supposed to be, like if it was a guy or if it was a girl, or if it was actually left ambiguous on purpose. But the original anime did it wrong. That's all I remember. I remember the series is funny, heartwarming, very cutesy. It's a kind of a slice of life, but it has some supernatural, mystical elements to it. And even a little bit of drama and comedy, of course. But overall, I enjoyed it. Now, I'll keep this completely real with you guys, though. Just because I enjoyed the series when I was younger does not mean I will now. 10 years ago, I was 17. 12 years ago, 15, obviously. So, I was a completely different person back then. I was into completely different things. My tastes were a lot different. And obviously that was a long fucking time before I came out as trans. So, back then I did, wrongfully, but I did believe myself to be male. And I tried actively to be male. Because, especially around that time, I was very self-conscious about the fact that I did not fit in with other guys. That I was not very masculine, quote unquote. And that I was into stuff that was more feminine, you know? So, at that time I was very self-conscious, so I was actively trying to be very, like, masculine and into manly stuff like Transformers and shit. But yeah, it's just, I was a very different person. I'm a lot more open and honest nowadays. I'm a lot more real about what I like. And, I mean, in general, my tastes have changed just because they do. People's tastes change throughout the years. You could be into something when you're younger and then watch it when you're older and just find out, like, why did I like this? But you did really like it when you were younger. Believe me, I've had quite a number of those experiences. But either way, yeah. So this is the first episode. We are watching it in sub. Because even though I like a lot of the dubbed voice actors who are in this, and it is being simulcast in the dub, I think I would just rather prefer to watch this series in the original Japanese. I don't know, maybe it's the Zodiac aspect of it, but something about it just makes me want to watch it in the original language. I'll probably still check out the dub. Check out, like, what the voices are like and all, but I think at least for reactions, I think I'd rather see it, and to see the episodes the first time, I think I'd rather see it in Japanese. Well, either way, hopefully this ends up being good. Hopefully it's as entertaining and as good of an experience as I remember the original being for me back then. And I'm hoping that, hell, it's even better with the new and improved animation, voice acting, writing, and the more complete, accurate story. But we'll find out. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, first episode of Fruits Basket 2019. And, as I said in my pre-thoughts, I don't remember everything from the original series. There are definitely a lot of things I do remember. And especially after watching this, a lot of things were coming back to me that I either just didn't remember or just didn't remember specific details about, such as Toru's friends. I just completely forgot about their characters. Like, not that I didn't think Toru had friends, it's just, I didn't specifically remember them, you know? But yeah, from my memory, as I mentioned in the pre-thoughts, I did really enjoy Fruits Basket. I thought it was cute, I thought it was funny, but I also thought it had a lot of depth and interesting lore, and a lot of great mysticism and everything, as well as some supernatural elements. And I just really got a kick out of it. But I just kind of like, I wouldn't say like waned off of it or anything. It's just like, and I definitely didn't lose interest necessarily. I just moved on to other things and just started watching other stuff and just kind of not forgot about the series by any means, but just kind of, again, moved on to other stuff. And so seeing this again, when I first heard this was announced, I was excited because it's like, cool, I'm going to get to be, I'm going to get to, like, relive my childhood, basically. And sorry for the lighting, by the way. I'll try to fix that while I'm talking here. But I'd get to, like, relive my childhood in a way. I'd get to, like, get reunited with old friends, you could say, and get reacquainted with basically memories from my past of things that I used to know and things that I used to be into. And so I was excited. And again, I was excited that they were kind of doing this brotherhood treatment with Fruits Basket in the first place. And it's been like 18 years. So it's like it's been a lot longer than Brotherhood than with Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. It's been like a long fucking time. And so going into this, yeah, I was super excited, but I was also a little cautious. I was worried that this wouldn't live up to my memories, that it wouldn't be as good as I hoped it would be, and as I remember the original series being back then for me at that time. Well, this was fantastic. This first episode was really fantastic. It was a very strong start with great comedy, great character, great depth to the characters. The animation was solid the entire way through. The story, while it did jump around a lot, I don't think it was really a detriment to the episode. I felt like it kind of needed to in this first episode just to kind of introduce us to everything, to all these different characters, to the just general plot of everything going on. Because I feel like especially that they wanted to end this first episode the way they did with that reveal. Because of how much that they do have to cover with this series. And considering this is being billed as a first season, we know that they plan to give room to this, that they're not going to try to force it in with just one season. I don't know how many episodes this is going to be, though. So that has to be taken into account, too. But yeah, the voice acting was great, the art and animation was great, the comedy. I love the expressions, especially that Toru makes in certain situations. And everything just felt right. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm honestly, I've said it before, but I'm not like the biggest fan of a lot of slice of life shows. A lot of them I find boring, or like they're not really going anywhere or doing anything. I like it when a series has this feeling of progression with its story. Fruits Basket always did have a progression with its story. It always felt like it was going somewhere, like it was revealing new things and doing new things with its characters. I never had an issue with it in terms of that regard. Plus, again, the comedy, the mysticism, the lore, everything kept building with it in a way that made it feel continuously enticing to watch and or read. Back when I was into manga, which even back then wasn't a lot, but still. And this first episode, I feel lived up to my memories. Now, I don't know if the entire series will. I do not know that, and I cannot predict that. But this first episode really, really lived up to my memories and lived up to my hopes for this series. And I really feel that this could be another example of, well, the Brotherhood treatment. Of a remake of a series being better than the original in pretty much every way. I could completely see that. And I'm hoping that that's where this goes. I talked about in the episode how certain things already were better. Not, I mean, even just outside of the obvious stuff that's going to be better, such as the art style and animation. You had stuff that was better, such as specifically Yuki's expressions. As I mentioned, in the original, he felt kind of flat. Like there wasn't any personality to him. And he was always one of my least favorite characters in the original, in fact, because I never felt like they gave him enough. Yet, already in this first episode, I like him so much drastically more. Though we saw very little of Kyo, his entrance and the way he carried himself afterwards was very expressionist. It had a lot of depth to just the way he moved and acted. And even the way he spoke. Shigure is just, he's just a joy. He's just fun. He always was, even in the original, but in this one it's just like, I like him. He's fun. And Toru, of course, they made a point of saying how much depth and character she has. That she's not just this bubbly, happy girl. That she hides a lot of darkness to her. That she hides sadness in her heart. A lot of it. A lot of regret over not being able to say goodbye to her mother one last time. And it's emotional thinking about that. Seeing a loved one leave, not knowing that they're going to not come back, and afterwards regretting for the rest of your life that you didn't say goodbye to them, that's one of the most emotional, like, really just one of the worst things you can imagine. You have to understand how badly that would eat up at you. I think the only thing worse is if they passed on and you left on a really bad note. Like an argument, a fight, something like that. But yeah, like I said, this episode did jump around a lot. Like every so often it would jump to a new scene and a new point to it. But it never really felt like it was detrimental to the episode. It never really felt like it was hurting anything to do so. It's just trying to kind of get through everything, I think, in this early part. And then it's going to start to slow down after this. Because, again, they wanted to finish the first episode with the reveal. But they also wanted to not like necessarily skip things. They wanted to still introduce Toru's friends. They wanted to introduce her living situation. They wanted to introduce Yuki's fan club. Stuff like that. They wanted to get all of this in there. This stuff that is part of the story. But they didn't want to have to wait till episode 2 to have that big reveal. And I feel like it's fine. I mean, I feel like that'd be a nitpick to consider that against the episode. But honestly, even so, it would be the only thing I can find wrong with the episode. Everything else was fantastic. And again, that's just a nitpick, so it's not even that big of a deal. And as I said, I don't know how the entire series is going to play out. I don't know how good it's going to be. I can only guess. I can only give my predictions. But in the end, this is definitely something I want to continue reacting to. And again, I do not yet know if I'm going to continue with this in terms of scheduling it in any way, or if I'm just going to react to it like as each episode comes out as quickly as I can get to it. I'm going to have to wait and see and kind of go from there. But I'm definitely going to continue it for now, and I'm really hoping it continues to be as good as this first episode was. But tell me in the comments below what you thought of Fruits Basket 2019 Episode 1. What did you think of Toru as a character? What do you think of the Soma household so far? And the mythology that's starting to be told? What do you think of the general story about what's happened to Toru? About her situation with her parents both passing away? About her grandfather and everything? And the renovations that's forced her to live, well, not really forced, but that's made her make the decision to live in a tent in the middle of the woods. Tell me your thoughts on all of this and more in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,